Here's a scary thought. What if, by the time the events of Volume 10 begin to unfold, Salem already has the Relic of Choice in her possession? This really didn't seem like a possibility before, or at least leading up to the end of Volume 9, but given what we saw in the episode 11 animatic for Volume 9, well, we can't really discount that possibility of happening. Now, I know myself and many other fans of the RWBY series want the show to return to Beacon Academy, to have our journey end where it first began. And for all intents and purposes, it seems like the series is leading in that direction. It would be very poetic to see Team RWBY end their journey where they first started off as huntresses. They started at Beacon Academy, and now that they have traveled all across Remnant, gone to every other kingdom, as well as now to other worlds, they have learned about the world and beyond the world that they live in. They have honed their skills and now have the experience and the knowledge to draw upon to make the hard decisions. Returning to Beacon Academy does seem like a perfect end to the RWBY series, and it still might end up that way, depending on how things unfold. But we learned in the episode 11 animatic that Salem went immediately to Vale after destroying Atlas, to the point that Vale is now said to be completely gone. The kingdom's wiped off the map, similar to how Atlas is. Obviously, not the exact same way, because Atlas is like, buried under the frozen tundra, the water that flooded it, it's now going to freeze over. Atlas is pretty much completely gone. Maybe some stuff can be salvaged, but still, Vale, there's still going to be buildings still standing, Beacon is still going to be there, but Salem is now there. This might even be her new base of operations, and everyone from Vale had to be evacuated. The series seemed to be pointing in the direction that Beacon Academy would be the final beacon of hope for Remnant. But now, all of the eggs are in the basket of Vacuo. All of Atlas had to be evacuated to Vacuo. All of Vale now had to be evacuated to Vacuo. And Mistral is practically crippled with a lot of its huntsmen and huntresses gone, the Huntsman Academy no longer in operation, and all of their Huntsman Academy students in Vacuo as well. Vacuo seems like the last ray of hope, and depending on how much time Salem has in Beacon, if she did go to Vale immediately after Atlas fell, then she could have weeks or numerous months even to scour Beacon, have her forces look for the Relic of Choice. Given that Ozpin made the Relic of Choice a little bit more difficult to find, or so he said, than the other relics, it always seemed like the Relic of Choice would be the final relic found in the RWBY series. But given enough time, and especially since Salem now has Cinder on her side again, or at her side, I should say, which is the Fall Maiden, which presumably would be needed to unlock the vault which the Relic of Choice would be sealed in, it's only a matter of time before Salem would get the Relic of Choice. And then she's going to roll up to Vacuo in Volume 10 with 3 relics. The Relic of Knowledge, the Relic of Creation, and the Relic of Choice. And that would mean that the Relic of Destruction, the relic housed in Vacuo, would be the final one that she needs to achieve her ultimate goal of bringing the 4 relics together, summoning the gods, and presumably what her final goal is wiping out all of Remnant. Now I want to say again, leading up until this point, it did seem like the series was pointing to the Relic of Choice being the final relic to be obtained. That the series would return to Beacon Academy, and it might still do so even if Salem does get the Relic of Choice. But, I don't know about you, but I certainly didn't expect Vale to be taken down off-screen and then just see the citizens of Vale being evacuated to Vacuo as well. It seems like Vacuo is where Remnant is going to make their last stand, and depending on how things turn out there, maybe Salem gets the relic, maybe the relics are brought together in Vacuo through some other means, but if they are able to push Salem back, and she does use Beacon as her new kind of base of operations, then Remnant might end up taking the fight to Salem, and we will return to Beacon. Instead of running away, This time, everyone will be marching to reclaim what was lost. And that might even be a better way for the series to end, rather than, having to go to Vale to stop Salem from getting the final relic if she is able to get the Sword of Destruction, or however it might play out. There are quite a few different ways that this story could come to a close. Regardless, at some point I do believe that the 4 relics are going to be brought together, but right now, the current topic at hand, what if Salem gets the Relic of Choice before heading to Vacuo in Volume 10? Now, I've made videos before about what could make the Relic of Choice a little bit more difficult to find than others. Glinda having her connection, most likely to the Relic of Choice, given that her emblem is a crown as well, then, that could imply something might happen to Glinda off-screen, which I really wouldn't like. But as I like to do on this channel, we should examine multiple different possibilities that might happen. And it does seem like a significant possibility, maybe not the most likely possibility, but possibility nonetheless, that Salem will have acquired the crown prior to getting to Vacuo. She has all 3 of the relics. That could pose a huge problem. Obviously, it's going to pose a huge problem no matter what for the people of Vacuo, because Salem is not only immortal, commanding a grim army, as well as having magic. She also has the Relic of Creation, which, as I've mentioned before, we've seen that the Relic of Creation can just lift something the size of Atlas into the air. All she has to do is just do that, hover it over Vacuo, drop it on the city, and there goes pretty much the entire population of the city. No fight to be had. I don't think the series is going to go that route, but, she already has the most dangerous pieces of the puzzle at her disposal. The Relic of Knowledge, the questions have been used up unless those get refreshed at some point throughout this time skip, which is another possibility in and of itself. The Crown of Choice might not actually influence that much. As far as we know, the Crown of Choice shows the wearer a choice that they will face in the future. But we don't know what influences the choice that the wearer is shown. Does the spirit of the relic have an influence on that? As we know from what I described in my previous video, the spirits of the relics are sentient, and they do influence what they actually grant to the people requesting things from them. So when it comes to the Relic of Choice, we don't exactly know what that means. If the Relic of Choice favors an individual, then they could show the choice that is most prominently going to affect their desires, what the person actually wants. If the Relic of Choice hates you, then they could just show you whatever choice you're going to face in the next 5 minutes, and just be completely annoying about it too. Could you imagine if you want to gain some useful information and all you can see when you put on the crown is the choice you're going to face when you decide what you want to have for breakfast next? Oh, do I want a muffin, or do I want, a croissant or something like that? That would just be annoying as hell. So, possibilities do exist that the Crown of Choice could just absolutely hate Salem and just go down that path. I don't think it's going to go down that path, simply because animating all of that would just cost unnecessary money that I don't think they're going to put into the series for, animating something like that. But it is entirely possible that the Relic of Choice could be just useless to Salem. On the other hand, instead of a benefit, it could be a detriment to Salem. Salem outwardly has the desire to unite the relics, summon the gods, wipe out Remnant. That's what we've been shown, that's what we are led to believe, but there are hints that Salem may not be as cold as she outwardly appears. If she is shown a choice that, when she summons the gods, for example, a choice that, she makes to summon the gods, and she's given the choice between wiping out Remnant, wiping out everything that exists on Remnant, which would wipe out the past of Remnant as well, possibly make it so that her soul never existed, and the souls of her children never existed. Maybe she learns that the maidens do have some connection to her 4 children. There does seem to be some connection there, perhaps, and that might give Salem pause. Because we know that out of everything in Salem's life, she does still care about her children. When she went to interrogate Oscar, she summoned the shadowy images of her children running and playing above her hand. That is the one thing that Salem still cares about. That is the one thing she thinks she's lost forever. If it turns out that that's not exactly the case, and she's faced with a choice that could result in something happening to the memory she has of her children, to the possible existence of her children, or what may remain of her children, that could, well, that could hinder her a lot with how she wants to progress about the fight that she will face in Vacuo. So I think that is really the crux of what will happen if Salem has the Relic of Choice, if she puts the Relic of Choice on at any point throughout the series, before she goes to Vacuo or afterwards, is what choice she will be shown. Whether it relates to her outward desires or whether it relates to the desires within her heart, to see her children again and how much she values them. And that, I think, is going to make the Crown of Choice more of a detriment to Salem than a blessing. On the other hand, though, if it does relate to just the most important choice that a wearer is going to face in the future, then heading into battle, it's just going to show her the choices that will likely lead to her getting the relic, or choices that would be most crucial throughout the battle. If the enemy's going to get an advantage and that there's a choice that needs to be made, whether to snuff them out or go for the relic instead, to attack, Ozpin, for example, or go after Team RWBY, who is about to unseal the relic from the vault, whether she pursues her grudge or her goal, like that type of thing. There are a lot of different choices that could be shown through the Relic of Choice, and it could result in a significant boon to Salem's abilities. It won't offer her any extra, combat capabilities. She's already pretty much nigh unbeatable as it is, but once you have someone who's nearly unbeatable and you add Foresight on the top of that, then that just, snowballs even more. That isn't to say, though, that Team RWBY, the people of Remnant, and Vacuo as a whole is defenseless. They still have Ozpin, they still have 3 maidens on their side, even though we haven't seen the Summer Maiden as of yet. They do have the Winter Maiden, the Spring Maiden, as well as the Summer Maiden. They have Team RWBY, they have all of the huntsmen and huntresses that were training at the Huntsman Academies, as well as probably a majority of just the adult huntsmen that still are around on Remnant. Plus, there's going to be backup from Menagerie on the way, most likely, and the Sword of Destruction that could be utilized against Salem as well. They have a lot of resources at hand. Granted, they could be starved out before then. All Salem really has to do is just wait, because there's a lot of mouths to feed, and Vacuo certainly doesn't have the resources to do so. But depending on how things unfold, Salem could still be pushed back, even with the Crown of Choice. I ultimately do think that it is not going to be as much of a boon as it would be a curse. I think the Relic of Choice might end up rattling Salem if she puts it on. If she has it before going to Vacuo, it'll make her unsure of herself and ultimately force her retreat back to Beacon Academy, where Vacuo will now go on the offensive. The people of Remnant will come together, fighting Salem, perhaps seeing that she's weak, seeing that there's cracks in that armor, seeing that potentially she could be defeated, and that will be what unites Remnant. Because Remnant is not united now. Not even close. The series has kind of hinted that, RWBY sent out a message and the world answered, that Vale, Vacuo, Atlas, and Mistral have all come together. But there's so many people who have abandoned the city, so many people who have ran for their own lives, and who are just, want nothing to do with all of this, that the world can't be called united. So, we'll see how things unfold. It'll be interesting to see if the Relic of Choice does come into play before the events of Vacuo are actually concluded, before that battle comes to an end. For the simple fact that Salem is now in Vale. It's something that I never expected to happen. I really thought that they were just going to go in a circle, going from Vale to Mistral to Atlas and then to Vacuo back to Beacon, which, is the cycle that they're probably going to go to. But I thought, the cycle of kingdoms to fall would kind of follow that as well. But we got the news that Salem went to Vale to wipe it completely out, and one of her main goals in doing that would probably be to obtain the Relic of Choice. So, we can't deny the possibility that that might happen. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think, and what you think the potential might be that Salem could do with the Relic of Choice if she were to get it before going to Vacuo. Now, another interesting thought that just came to me, if Salem does get the Relic of Choice, she puts it on during the battle to try to give her an advantage in the fight, it does rattle her, perhaps she will end up tossing the relic away, perhaps it'll give Team RWBY or someone the opportunity to knock it off of her head. Salem can still be attacked, she just can't be killed, so, someone could blow her head off, or just, like Hazel did, and just knock her into next week. Give her one good punch. Crow's pretty good at that. I could see him knocking Salem's teeth out, and then the crown off of her head as well. Then, that would make it a pretty interesting fight going to Beacon. Salem has creation and knowledge, and the people of Remnant have destruction and choice. That might actually be quite fitting. Humanity is quite a destructive presence in every shape and form, and it's the choice whether to use those destructive tendencies for good or for bad. Yeah, I'm liking that more and more, so let me know down in the comments what you guys think as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, got you thinking a little bit more about what might potentially happen in Volume 10. There are so many different possibilities, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it will unfold. We haven't heard anything new yet about when Volume 10 might potentially happen, but we know that Viz Media is working on RWBY projects, and so I think it's just a matter of time, and all we have to do is just be patient. In the meantime, though, I'll continue making videos, and if you guys want to talk to me live about RWBY or anything else for that matter, I also stream on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So I will be going live shortly after this video gets posted as well, and I'd love to see you there. With that being said, though, I'll see you guys in the next video.